Okay? Talking about domain and range. What variable goes with domain? X. What goes with range? Y. So we have practiced domain and range separately. Now we're doing it together. Remember, these two charts you can use if you'd like. Most of you prefer the way I do it over using the chart because it gets a little bit convoluted, a little bit messy, and that's okay. What you need to focus on is this rectangle right here. That's the rectangle we're looking at. That's what binds these two qualities together. So this will be our review over what we did. Use this rectangle. It says since we read from negative to positive like on a number line, the inequality symbols are always what? They're always what? Less than. An open circle means it is what? Not greater than, not less. If there's no line underneath it, it is not equal to. Remember, it's not included. You're okay. You had it right. It's a less than sign. I'm asking what does it mean if it doesn't have a line underneath it? Not equal to. What about if it is a closed circle? It is equal to. So I'm going to write that in as a little caveat statement there because I see some people looking at me kind of crazy. If it's an open circle, it's not equal to. If it's a closed circle, it is equal to. The arrow or off the grid means infinity, but infinity symbols are not allowed. I don't agree with that. We just use this right here. But we do use infinity symbols in inequality and in interval notation in Algebra 1. So that's the biggest things. We use this when it's all real numbers, meaning that there's a going towards a negative and a positive infinity. Any questions? Okay, we're jumping straight on in. Letter A down here goes to this graph. We're going to ask, is it a function? Is this a function? What do you mean it's not a function? Does it pass what test? So if I were to draw random vertical lines, how many times does this graph hit those vertical lines? One time. Once, once, once. So is this a function? It sure is. If you still don't know what classifies as a function from a graph to a table to a mapping function to a set of relation points, you need to review 3.3, which was last Thursday's notes, okay? Leftmost value is what? What's the leftmost value? No. What's there that you're not making note of? An arrow. An arrow pointing where? Left. Towards what? Negative infinity. So what's my leftmost value? Thank you. What is my rightmost value? Because what's going on? There's a what? Going towards what value though? There you go. If both of these exist, what is my domain? It's domain. There we go. We just talked about that. Any questions? Now, do you think those arrows affect my range? How so? Where's this one going? Up towards what? Positive infinity. Because will this arrow go higher than this peak right here? Yes, it sure will, because that arrow means it's going where forever? Up forever. So it's going to surpass that and then keep going, right? Do you believe that's true? Think about it. Because what did you see eventually happen here when this went down? It eventually went where? It eventually went back up, right? So we can't assume end behavior. There's a reason why they didn't show us this going back down. There's a reason why, okay? They want you to find the domain and range for this specific piece. So if I see that this is going up, I know it's going to continue to go up. I have to assume that it's a cubic function. So it's going towards this positive infinity, so that makes that the topmost point. Where's the other arrow going? Down towards negative infinity. So what's the bottommost point? So how would I write my range? Any questions there? This one's a special case in the sense of this could be expanded out to show what we call an oscillation, whether a sine or a cosine curve, meaning what goes up comes down and it continues on from left to right infinitely forever, where there's a set maximum and minimum value on y. But in this case, they didn't give us enough information for us to know that, so we have to assume it is a cubic function that is going always down and always up, always left and always right. Does that make sense? Everybody with me? It seems like a lot because you're putting two things together. This is why this ain't meant to be done in one day for y'all's group, okay? This is why we're taking such a big discussion. Any questions? Any questions? Looking at letter B. Is this a function? Because it does what? So if I were to draw a random amount of vertical lines, how many times does my graph hit it? Once, making it a function. Leftmost point. There's an arrow, yes? Going towards where? Negative what? Infinity. Make sure you're using your words. I'm not going to be filling in the blank all the time. You have to know where it's coming from, okay? I know it's a lot of vocabulary, but that's life. You got to know it, okay? Rightmost value. Positive infinity. Because where is that arrow going forever? To the right. So what would be my domain? Any questions there? Sir?
So like that's always going to be negative?
Baby, yes, because what's always going to be left to a number? A number that's what compared to it?
Positive.
No, to the left of it. What's the left of 0? This is what you just said. So is that greater than or less than that number?
Less than.
Less than. So everything to the left will always be what compared to the number that you started at?
Less than.
Less than. There you go. Make sense?
Yeah.
Left, less. Left, going towards the negatives. Okay? Good question. Bottommost value. -1, because it's right there. Topmost value. Positive infinity, because of this arrow right there. This is going to keep going upward forever, meaning it's going towards positive infinity. So, what would be my range? Oh, no. If it's less than, that means it would be below -1. Am I using any point below -1? So y is what? Greater than. Or, because if you don't see an open circle, you assume it is what? What's the opposite of open? So let me ask that question again. If you do not see an open circle, you assume it is? Thank you. What goes at the end of this?
-1.
Thank you. Say it with confidence. What are you scared of? Are we going to go through these notes? Am I going to explain it to you? So who are you scared of? Being wrong? You're going to be more wrong than you're ever going to be correct. And no one in here is going to make you feel bad for being wrong. This is a safe space to be incorrect because you're going to get the lesson. I can't speak on every other teacher's classroom, but I know I teach in this room. And nobody can argue that. Correct? So what you scared of? I'm only intense because I want you to learn this. Any questions? Look at C. Is it a function?
No.
Why not?
It's a long way.
So even if I drew a line right here, right? It hits it 2 times. So that is not a function because it does not pass what test? The vertical line test. So leftmost value, -2. It might not look it, but it's hitting right there. Rightmost value, 4. So what would be my domain? -2. It's always less than or equal to, then always, and this one's equal to. Thank you. That was great. You see how that confidence helped us get through that a little bit quicker? Push through. If you start feeling not so confident, talk to me. That way I can help you be more confident. I can't give you my confidence, but I can help you be more confident, okay? So, looking at this, range, bottommost value, -2. Topmost value, a +4. So what would be my range? Perfect. That's the confidence we need. And this is why color coding is so important, because you see what each section means to me and what I'm able to do with it. Yes, sir.
Did you get did you put the Y there because
It's range. That's why. Domain will always be X, range will always be Y. Any questions there? Hey, Davis. I feel like in every one of my videos it's going to be a Hey Davis in random places. I don't really think about it because you're usually in here, or when you're coming in, it's a reflex. I do the same thing like to Mr. Stripling and stuff. I'll go, hey. You know I'm crazy when it comes to that, though. Hello. Looking at D. Is it a function? Why not? So if I drew a line right there, hit the line more than once. So that can't be. It's not a function. That's a no. Domain. Notice how it doesn't say left, right, bottom, and top. You have to find those and mark them yourself. So that's what we're doing together, okay? This is us stepping into seeing it differently. So, leftmost value is? There's arrows. There and there. So what's your leftmost value? -infinity. What's your rightmost value? The way to help with that is to write the directions of the arrows that correspond. This one is going to the left forever. This one's going to the right forever. And that's what makes it -infinity and +infinity. Everybody following? So what would be my domain? R. Any questions there? Looking at range. Bottommost number. Because where is this arrow going? Downwards. Towards. There we go. Where is the topmost value? Because where's this arrow going? Towards. So what would be my range? That is a cube root function that we're looking at, by the way. That's that sideways S shape. Any questions there? How are we feeling? We getting a little bit easier to see what's going on? A little bit easier to piece them together? All right, let's look at E. What kind of function is this? Or what kind of relation? Discrete, because it's a graph made only of dots. So, is this a function?
No.
Why not? It does not pass the vertical line test because it hits those 2 points. So that cannot work in this case. Domain. How should I start my domain and my range of these? With a what? What did I write into my notation? I said what they both should start with. Meaning that's a notation question, not a number question. So look back and see. What did I start mine off with? And let's see if your notes match mine. You're telling me what goes with domain and range. I'm asking a notation question, meaning how is the answer supposed to be written? It's called a curly brace. You need one of those on both of them, or else your notation is not correct. So if you didn't write it on your notes, I suggest you put 2 of those down. You need it for notation reasons. That's how you write a set of values. If it's not there, you're not meeting the notation standard. That's in Algebra 1 too. So, it ain't got to be perfect. The only one looking at your paper is me, you, and Jesus. And I've heard Jesus don't be judging like that. So, I might, but with love. Put your curly braces down. Kingston, you got your curly brace on there? I do. Now, we can actually answer the question of, how do I find domain? You're not saying the right phrases there. You're close. Least to greatest. In what direction? Left to right, because that's domain. So, what is my leftmost value? No. -6. I'm making sure you can what? So, read. Thank you. Somebody knew exactly what I was about to say. Then, yep, because of that point right there. 0, because of these 2 points right here. No. 3, because it falls between 2 and 4, right there. Not only am I teaching you to read, we also learning how to count, ain't we? We'll go between 2 and 4. Going through it. Ooh, this is going to be funny for y'all to watch back on when y'all are seniors. This is going to be great. What's next? What was it? Because what comes after 3? There we go. We cooking with gas now. Then 7, because what's between 6 and 8? And I'm going to emphasize this because me and Kylan talked about this pretty greatly, in the sense of me and him looked at this and we both said, what direction do we need to highlight and work in? Your highlights should go in the opposite direction of what you're looking for. So notice my vertical lines are for domain, but I'm going left to right. That's because X values when graphed create a vertical line. So it should look like this. So when I'm doing range, it should be perpendicular. So it should be horizontal when you're highlighting, or else you will not put the right values down. Any questions? So if I'm looking at range, where am I starting? Or the down, we call it the of the graph, the bottom. There we go. That way you have a visual of where you're going, right? So bottom-most value is what? -7, because that's between -8 and -6. Then then 1. Someone called it right there. Then and then there we go. So both should end and begin with a curly brace, commas in between each number. Any questions? If you were to type this in online, you would not put spaces. You would just put the curly brace, number, comma, number, comma, number, comma, until you're done, and then put an actual curly brace at the end. No spaces. And I'm not expecting you to remember all of this. I write it in the directions. So make sure you read the directions. Any questions there? F, is it a function? Yes. Because why? It passes the vertical line test and only hits it once. No matter how many lines you draw, it hits it one time. Domain, what's important to make note of? Open and closed endpoints. That is perfect. That is great. So this one you're going to help me with. I'm not going to add too much to it. You're going to help me. How do I start with my domain? Leftmost point, left to right. So leftmost point is, because it's on the left side of the graph. Then so rightmost point, I heard that, which is 0, because it hits the y-axis. So how would I write my domain? Why would it not be or equal to? Because it's an open circle. Then? Why is that one equal to? Absolutely. And then? Any questions there? Everybody good? From there, range. You tell me. Because that's my bottommost point, right? And then? One more time? I'm sorry. Because that's my topmost point. So how would I write my range? Because that one's closed. Because that one is an open one. Any questions? Yes, sir.
How'd you get 0?
What is the x value whenever it's on the y-axis? It's always. It's always.
0.
You need to just know that. That is a common fact. Because you're not going left or right. You're just going up and down. That was a good question. Any other questions? You already know what's about to happen. You got some practice problems. And don't worry, they're timed. So, you're doing 1, 2, and 5. Can you do those for me? Well, you're wasting time because the timer done started. So, 1, 2, 5. Get it going. Bring it to me when you're done, please.